Good evening, welcome to Central News for Friday the 2nd of August. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, the Pilot Bay Boardwalk is starting to take shape, with the first half completed this week up to Grace Avenue. The Tauranga City Council Boardwalk was a controversial project before its construction, with some saying it will cause safety problems and children may be run over by people in wheelchairs. Mayor Stuart Crosby says the boardwalk is coming in under budget, ahead of time, and it was needed for environmental reasons.
It's going incredibly well. A part of it is already open and being well received. It's ahead of time, it's under budget, so all the concerns I think have been alleviated. And it's just amazing how sometimes those very small projects can gather a lot of interest. But essentially it was an environmental project. Pilot Bay, which is a beautiful piece of our coastline, was being severely eroded, basically by people pressure. So the boardwalk has taken that off, so it's been very well received.
The Waikato is going mad with Chiefs fever ahead of tomorrow night's sold-out final against the Brumbies. The Bay of Plenty are getting behind the boys as well. The Root Case Whole Bridge in Tauriko was decorated in Chiefs colours today. Chiefs coach David Rennie knows that it will be a highly emotional charged occasion, with Craig Clark, Layla Masaga, Toby Smith, Richard Kahui and Brendan Leonard all heading offshore at the end of the season. Hamilton City is expected to benefit financially from the game. Saturday for you, Tauranga is going to be a definite inside housework morning. Rain possibly heavy at times in the morning with a gustily easterly that will die out. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 11. Hamilton for you, Sunday will be raining. The rain will ease to showers in the afternoon and there will be a developing easterly. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 9. Sunday again for you, Tauranga, rain heavy at times in the morning. It eases later with a developing westerly. Your expected high is 17 and an overnight low of 10. Just ahead, we catch up with the Mayor of Tauranga about the recent local government conference in Hamilton. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. A local government conference was held recently in Hamilton. I caught up with the Mayor of Tauranga to find out what were the main ideas that were discussed.
The primary purpose was actually to rebrand Local Government New Zealand. I'm on the National Council for Local Government New Zealand, so we had a lot of time and energy put into that rebrand. So we have a number of new councillors on it, we have a new chief executive and new staff, and it was really time to step up as an organisation. So the conference was utilised as a rebranding exercise and it went down very well. Other than that, we have a number of keynote speakers who talk to us on a range of subjects, from the culture of an organisation right through to demographics, through to how you can be a connected community by using IT, etc. So it was a very, very interesting conference and very well received. We had good feedback from it.
So what does that rebranding look like?
It's called now We Are LGNZ, in other words, We Are Local Government New Zealand. Of course we represent all the councils and all the regional councils from the far north down to the deep south. And it was not just about a rebranding, it was really about a whole new business plan and a whole new way in which we represent our members and deliver services to them. And so one of the concepts coming up will be a centre of excellence inside LGNZ. And that's going to be great. So small councils who struggle to get really good advice, or it's very expensive for them, can go to the Centre of Excellence and say, I have this problem, what are some resolutions? By way of example. So, but that's only one example. There'll be a whole range of services provided through the new Local Government New Zealand.
Professor Natalie Jackson talked about, the ageing population that will happen in the future facing New Zealand, the problems that come along with that. How will this affect the Tauranga City Council, and how are you going to try and tackle that?
Yes, that's the second time I've heard Professor Natalie speak, and it's quite sobering what she is predicting in terms of the world population, New Zealand's population and Tauranga's population. Now we know that Tauranga's always had over and above the national average of over 65s. And that's going to continue. So what are we doing about it in our city? We are gearing up for that, and one of the projects we're doing, which is the first in New Zealand, is to create a strategy for an ageing population. And you've got to be careful how you use that phrase. You know, I've just turned 57 and heading towards that area, but my view is the new elders of our city and across New Zealand have a different attitude to life. They want to participate in the community, they want to stay fit and active, and they want to definitely start to relate more actively to their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So there are issues around that, and it's often simple things like housing needs, for example. Now, Tauranga City is not geared up for our ageing population in terms of houses. We have far too many huge homes, whereas the need moving into the future is actually going to be smaller homes, even 1 and 2 bedroom homes for our ageing population. So that's the type of issues that we'll be dealing with in the future with regard to an ageing population.
You chaired the Local Economies Driving National Success session. What was discussed there?
We had three keynote speakers in that. The first one spoke about tourism, and that was Martin Snedden, who chairs the Tourism Industry Association, and the value of tourism to New Zealand and what local councils do to support tourism, because we do a lot for that. The second issue was around China and how China now is absolutely critical, as we all know, to the New Zealand economy. And again, how councils, particularly those that have sister cities, can utilise that sister city arrangement to support local exporters going into China. We do that here in Tauranga City through our sister city of Yantai and via the Bay of Plenty Export Institute. And the third one was around irrigation and the value of irrigation to productivity in the rural sector. So they were quite diverse and some related to more communities than others, but it was a very well received planning workshop.
How does Tauranga City Council enable economic growth?
Now, I spoke about that at another conference following on from that, the Economic Development Agency conference last Wednesday. What we do effectively, as do most local authorities, we create the environment for economic development to happen. And as I said in the first part of my address it's about the place. You know, the place has to look attractive and it has to attract people. Because with technology now you can virtually in many industries work anywhere you like in the world. So the place is important, and it could be simple things like keeping the city clean, the grass mown, the litter cleaned up, no graffiti. Then you get into providing land for business to grow and develop, service that land, and then support the businesses when they actually do arrive here, and making sure that outside of work there is activities, you know, be it sport, recreation and leisure and the arts, etc. So when you put all that together, a local government has a huge role to play in economic development within their communities.
The importance of irrigation was discussed. Does this affect Tauranga City Council being a city centre?
Not that much, because we're basically an urban city, but we do have a large rural area wrapping around us, particularly in the kiwifruit industry, and so a number of orchards, of course, have irrigation, but by and large that's more a rural sector issue.
The success of Auckland Super City was discussed. Was it discussed to look at this for the Bay of Plenty region?
We have been discussing Bay-wide what our future will be. Our current position is very clear that we'll continue to work together until the government have finished their reforms and decide what role and function councils will do. So there's this thing called form follows function. So you decide what you're going to do, then you decide how you're going to go about it. So there are no initiatives within the Bay of Plenty for amalgamations at this point in time, but that debate will start, I am sure, probably midway through 2014.
Coming up next, we get some tips from a dog trainer on training your dog around children. Welcome back. Dog attacks have been reported more widely in the media over the past decade. And for some of us, it has created that fear of what if our dog attacks another dog or someone. I went along to meet up with Wendy Graydon, the dog trainer, to do some training. Right, let's start at the beginning, Wendy. So how should we approach a strange dog?
Well, there's your problem already. Approaching a strange dog is a big no. Absolutely not. In fact, going the other way would be a great idea. They're just dangerous. I mean, you don't know where it's been, or especially if it's just out on the road, or if it's coming out from a property, really dangerous. So, yeah, best not to approach a strange dog. Like, what about a dog with puppies? What about a dog tied up in the backyard? No, not at all, yeah.
there a best place to pat a dog?
Yeah, preferably around the shoulder and chest, under the chin type behaviour. Lots of people put their hand over the top and the dog lifts their nose and is tempted to either sniff or bite depending on how comfortable they're feeling with that behaviour. But that's a normal behaviour, that's like a handshake for humans. Not good.
So, is there something that we could be teaching our children if they are around dogs in public?
If there could be a stranger for dogs, you know, stranger danger type thing, I would say it's just the same as a stranger with a bag of lollies. Don't even go there. Why would you? You don't know the dog. I mean, even if it's your uncle or aunties or cousins or friend's dog, even then, children are so fragile and easily bitten, you know, and dogs can misinterpret their twitchy little movements as, you know, something that needs a good nipping or sorting out, I'm afraid.
And so is there something that, I mean, is there any way that we could be teaching our dogs to kind of be more tolerable around children, or...?
Sure, that's a training issue. Like, is my dog, you know, congenial, social, easygoing? When I have, you know, young people around, I tend to put my dog away. It's just not worth the hassle, especially if they're not used to dogs. Like, lots of children are grown up these days and they don't even have a dog or a pet or a rabbit or a budgie in their household. You know, we're living in these little tiny areas, you know.
Is there a sign, like, is there a warning sign that a dog gives that it's kind of feeling uncomfortable?
I think children are actually quite good at interpreting emotion in lots of ways, like the whites of the eyes are showing, dog's ears are back. There's usually a warning growl, well, not usually, sometimes, honestly, very unpredictable to know. A warning growl, dogs often give that sort of whole stance, but sometimes children miss that, like you've got a wrong type stance. They might notice it with their mum when she crosses her arms and, you know, that sort of thing. But it's a little bit more subtle with dogs, hard to interpret. But sometimes the eyes are a good giveaway.
Now, say my dog is about to attack someone and it is attacking someone. Is there any stopping it? Is there anything I can do, or is it just too late?
Is that dog on dog or dog on people?
Either, I guess. Either, I guess.
I mean, if your dog's reactive, that's a massive question. If the dog's reactive, it depends what's going on. Has it done it before? Dogs do things for all sorts of reasons, and so to stop a dog in full flight of attack, whew, you know, it can be hard work. There's lots of ways to do that, but I mean, I think you're looking at expert type behaviours from people who know what they're doing.
It's pretty much a...
But that's what you get in the park every day, you know. Put your dog on a lead, you know, bark, fight, scrap, you know, off to the vet. You see that all the time in the parks, which is, you know, people not being careful or using dog etiquette. If your dog's off lead, I can keep my dog off lead, we're okay. My dog's on lead, you can put your dog on lead. Just little etiquettes that, you know, you should be using in the park. But you never know. People go, my dog's friendly. Is it?
Why do dogs attack then?
I think there's lots of reasons. You can look at breed if you like, but then you can also look at upbringing, too much humanisation, you know, baby child dog behaviour. Oh, my baby dog, you know, or my dog likes, do they like, do they tell you, you know? People humanise their dogs a lot, and you put a humanised dog in a situation where it's uncomfortable, it might nip. It might not have nipped before, but the more humanised it is, the crazier dogs become.
Right, that was the hard stuff. Let's go do a little bit of training.
So Wendy, you're saying a good place to pat the dog it's not on the head, is it?
No,
Yeah.
So up here, and that it just makes the dog come up straight away. That's how children get bitten, you know, so it's best to rub a dog down here on the shoulder, under the chest, under the chin. They quite like that sort of thing, but this sort of behaviour just makes dogs' noses and mouths come up to children's hands. It's best not to do that.
Well, look at that difference, you know. Look how calm she is.
It feels a lot better that way. Yeah.
Now, what else do we do when we're trying to teach dogs to kind of behave?
Behave. I think too that people forget that dogs are actually long. Like if you look at Lucy, she's actually this way, whereas we stand up straight. So if you want your dog to do something like sit, you just lift it up, realising that the dog's long, and if you lift over the nose, they will generally drop their tail. So it's sort of like this in behaviour, you know, instead of the stand-up thing that we think. Same for when, you're thinking about your dog going into a down. And at the moment, I'm just using treats with Lucy, but you don't have to use treats. And it's all the way down is right in front of her. Because if you move it forward she'll move off her position, So it's here, Lucy, sit, and Lucy down. So it's all here. Lucy, sit. Lucy, down. Down. Lovely. Good girl. Yeah, thank you.
Well, she's a very well-behaved dog, I must say.
Yeah, well, she's a little bulletproof foxy, a mini foxy, so they're pretty cool little dogs, but good boys dog. But she's just a easy, small size and good to have around. But of course, lose their fur everywhere. If you don't want fur, it's best to get one of those fellas that don't lose their fur.
Well, thank you very much to the both of you, and thank you, Lucy.
Visit thedogtrainer.co.nz if you would like some training tips for your dog or for yourself. Stay tuned, as up next we take an exclusive tour of the new police station. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. A new $20.8 million police station has been built in Tauranga to house the 150 staff. We went along to hear about all the new exciting facilities and we gained an exclusive tour inside.
Why was a new station needed?
So in terms of its size, it probably reached its use-by date. There was a number of staff that were stationed in different areas throughout the Western Bay of Plenty. So with the new station we've got here today, it's enabled us to bring those members back together, and through that creates efficiencies for us here in the Western Bay of Plenty.
Can you tell us a little bit of history of the old building?
Yes, there's been a number of buildings on the site previously. The first was in 1879 and then 1938 and then 1968. So this is the fourth building on the site. So for the place, there's quite a bit of history here in the Western Bay of Plenty.
How long has it been since you were kicked out in the construction and moving back in?
We moved out in January 2012 and recently moved in this month, July 2013. So it's been a reasonably quick process for us here in the Western Bay of Plenty.
How big is the station and how many staff have you got here?
It's approximately 5,900 square metres and it houses approximately 150 members, although they're not all there at the one time.
What has been the reaction from the staff?
Members are very, very happy with what they've got. Obviously, there's significant benefits for us in bringing all our members together. It's got a number of new technologies that enable us to do the work we need to do here in the Western Bay of Plenty in terms of keeping the Western Bay of Plenty safe. So no positive feedback from all so far.
And what about the public that that have seen it? Were they quite impressed?
Yes, well, we haven't been able to have a community day. We've had a staff and families day shortly after the blessing on the 19th of July. But for the family members that came through and the other volunteer groups that came and had a look, they were very, very impressed with what it is. So it's a great facility for the police here in the Western Bay of Plenty, but also for our communities in Tauranga.
Can you tell us about some of the new Māori carvings?
Yeah, there's 3 sets of carvings on the police station here. We have one set in the public foyer, another in the after hours foyer, and the one that I have here behind me on the eastern wall depicts 3 po, and that depicts the relationship between the early settlers in Tangata Whenua, the relationship between iwi and European through the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi, and also commemorates the Battle of Gate Pa.
What are some of the more exciting facilities that the station has?
Some of the changes from our temporary bases, obviously it's got quite a large open public counter, which is great for people wanting to come in and talk to our members. Obviously the after hours bail counter, it's got a number of facilities for our senior crime officers, for our criminal investigation branch, but probably the main fact of it brings everyone together under one roof. So we've had members in different stations around Tauranga. We've now got a significant number of them here in Monmouth Street, Tauranga.
Now, you have a decontamination shower. Did you have one before?
Well, that's something we haven't had before, but it's obviously a plus for us here in the new station, and it's something that's used by our investigative branch.
There is a gym now, so do you think that will help some of the staff get a bit fitter and running after the criminals?
Well, certainly fitness has always been a priority for us. What it does, having it here at the station, it certainly makes it more accessible for our members. So before shift or after shift, it's something that they can access. So again, it's another plus for this new station.
Now we're talking to Senior Sergeant Ross Bilby, who's been overseeing the whole entire project, the whole entire big move. Tell us about what you got for the main entrance.
Yes, well firstly welcome to the new Tauranga Central Police Station. You can see the main entrance here. We have the most used entry here by the steps, and for those in wheelchairs we also have a ramp access from the far end, and after hours, which is after 4 p.m, we have an entry down at the far end there.
Right, let's go on inside then.
Excellent.
So now we're actually in the basement floor, and this actually extends to all of the boundaries.
Yes, this covers our full site, so it's quite large. We have 61 car parks in here.
Yeah, it's quite a big site. So where are we off to now?
Well, let's go up to the ground floor and have a look at the facilities there. Right, this is our photography studio, and in here we are filming people like victims of crime and recording injuries and items like that.
And do the box lights actually move on tracks? And
Yes, they do. They go back and forwards, and as you can see, they can come across too, so we can get excellent lighting. And here we are in the forensic lab, and beside me I have Senior Constable Maury Andrews.
Yeah, it's me. Hi everybody, we'll just give you a quick rundown of what our new facility is. You saw in the pan shot earlier, this is a downdraft extractive pan where we do fingerprint powdering on the desk here, and what happens is it's got a strong fan that sucks air down through, so rather than the dust, powders, etc. coming up, it's sucked away from us. It goes through a large filter and then back out into the atmosphere, or into the room here. And behind me here we have fume cabinets. We use those to treat various exhibits with chemicals to enhance any fingerprints that may or may not be on the items. So state of the art, brand spanking new, and much better than the stuff we had in the old station.
now this room's new. It's something that the old station didn't have, isn't it?
That's right, we haven't had one of these before. This is actually used for search and rescue operations, so they're controlled from this room. And we actually have a little area in here where we would have a radio controller that can close himself off so he's not disturbed by the noise of the other people. And over behind us we have a map reading table, and we have whiteboards and pin boards and a projector. So we're all organised here to run those search and rescue operations.
That is the news for today and this week. We really want you to be involved. So like us on Facebook, let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I will be back next week with more guests from in and around our regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening and a fantastic weekend.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.